right, everyone, welcome to the podcast, Farago. I'm Erin, your host, and we are here with John Dwyer, who was here before on TrialSite News. He is president and CEO of the Global Alzheimer's Platform, or GAP, GAP. This is a foundation. GAP is a foundation, a nonprofit trying to speed up Alzheimer's research by helping clinical trials run faster, smarter, and more efficiently, while also improving access and participation in research studies, which is very important. So, John, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Great to be back.
Yeah. So you do a lot of work and research Alzheimer's, a very extensive website. You could spend a long time on there. But I wanted to focus on the BioHermes 002 study because I don't think we talked about that one as much last time. And it's looking at whether simpler tools like blood tests and digital assessments could help identify signs of Alzheimer's disease earlier in a more accessible way than expensive brain scans alone. I think a lot of people would be interested in that. So can you tell us a little more about that and where you're at?
Yes, the important thing about even since you and I were last together, the Alzheimer's field is, after about 100 years, finally approaching a level of technology and modernization that we have not seen in neurology the way we have seen it in oncology or cardiology. Uh, and I think you're going to see an explosion of quality of care and quality of research by virtue of what I'm about to tell you we're doing in our study and other people are doing as well. So the dementia is made up and caused by a number of different pathologies. The majority of dementia has been attributed to Alzheimer's disease. So if you think of an umbrella, Alzheimer's is a big piece of the coverage of the umbrella, but you also have frontal lobe dementia. You may have small vessel vascular disease in play. And so there are a variety of causes that may cause dementia, and Alzheimer's has always been considered the biggest cause of dementia. So it's interesting. It was exactly 7 years ago, in July of 2019, when the first blood tests were really brought forward to science and said, we've now got blood tests that can measure a protein called plaque, amyloid plaque, which is considered the foundation to converting to Alzheimer's disease if you have too much of this. The fact that these blood tests have gone on to be demonstrating to show real sensitivity and specificity for the presence of disease has been a game changer. And it has allowed us not to require expensive PET images or less desirable and unpopular, frankly, spinal fluid taps to get the same kind of information. But we can, just like you get a blood test for high levels of cholesterol or A1Cs for diabetes, we can now do a blood test for one of the major components of Alzheimer's disease and tell you whether you have elevated amyloid in your blood and thereby implication in your brain. That's a big deal. Our
Absolutely.
Biomarkers 2 study is trying to measure what are the good blood tests and
Mm.
how do they interact with other pathologies like tau, and whether there are other pathologies in play in causing dementia in addition to amyloid or tau, as we measure 1,000 people in various stages of progression to see what might be underlying their dementia.
Right, right. And just for our listeners, your goal is to improve detection and screening methods, making
Yes.
them more accessible for more people, which is great. But you're not looking to basically a new drug. That's not part of it.
You can't have new drugs if you can't know for sure you are putting people in the study that have the disease you're trying to treat.
Hmm.
So we're after the precision part of clinical trials. We're
Okay.
trying to be creating the most precise, well-characterized process so that people that come into trials can know they're going to get a shot at a drug that can help them for their unique pathology that may be causing their symptoms.
Okay. So precision medicine, is that fair to say? Okay.
We call yes, that's very fair to say. In our case, we call it precision clinical trials. But yes,
Precision. Okay. Well, I've heard, that word used. Precision medicine is like a hot thing right now.
it
I've
is.
I've
And
heard precision public health. Well, actually, I think I started saying that, but I like precision clinical trials. That's where it all starts. So that's very,
precisely because
yeah.
with the more we can get it right on the front end, the more
Mm,
likely we are to get a result that's right on the back end.
absolutely. So, what are the biggest limitations or unanswered questions surrounding blood biomarkers for Alzheimer's right now?
We have some blood markers that are flat out great. I think that, I'm old enough to remember a prostate test. It was called the PSA test. Back, this is going back 20 years. And it wasn't very good, but we were giving those prostate tests to men like candy. And it was probably just slightly better than a coin toss. And then, if you were positive on that test, then the urologist was busy doing a biopsy, which I can assure you, as women face many more unpleasant medical procedures than men. So I'm not looking for any sympathy, but going to a biopsy for prostate is not a great experience. So you want tests that are in the 90 percentile of positive. And so you don't have false positives. And you want tests that are in the 90 percentile for negatives so that you're not leaving out people that might be with pathology and the tests miss them. These tests are running at close to 90/90, which is remarkably good. And that's already out there. And they've already getting clearances by the FDA to be used as a diagnostic in the treatment of people that with signs and symptoms of dementia. Or to put it another way, if you have memory concerns, you can now
Yeah,
go to your doc and say, look, I don't know what's going on. And the doc can say, well, there's this test or this test. Let's talk about it. If I give it to you, it can shed a lot of light on where you are. It may not be dispositive. And we also should look for bladder infections and vitamin deficiencies and sleep apnea. There are a lot of things that cause memory concerns that are not scary pathologies.
yeah,
And so
of course.
doctors have to look at this in totality. But now they have a tool that will help elucidate one of the biggest reasons we have memory concerns after you get to be over 60 years old.
Okay, okay.
This is a
Um,
big deal. But you asked me, we've done this before, so let me answer your question a second way.
okay.
The blood test for amyloid is good and getting better. But we know there are other pathologies at work.
Yes.
Tau, and there are tests just now emerging for tau. We also know, and this is the more we learn, the more we don't know. So we are
Yeah.
finding out that there's something called small vessel vascular disease. Remember, I'm not a doc, I just live the business now.
Yeah.
If you have hypertension, you are at great risk for creating deteriorating small vessels in your brain that are caused by hypertension, and it can lead to dementia. That's a
Right.
pretty basic layman's explanation. We know that causes dementia. We don't know how many people get dementia from that, to my satisfaction. We do not have a blood test for that. We don't have a PET imaging mechanism for that. MRI helps, but it's not dispositive. It could be as much as 40% of dementias are from small vessel vascular disease. So, all of your listeners out there, watch your blood pressure because controlling blood pressure controls that pathology, or at least contributes to mitigating that pathology. Another one is alpha-synuclein. Alpha-synuclein is really interesting because if you're talking Parkinson's, that is a protein and a pathology that is very much in the front line of concern in Parkinson's. But we know a large percentage of Alzheimer's slash dementia cases have elevated alpha-synuclein. It can right now only be detected either in images or in a CSF test. Very unscalable is my point. Uh, we need to get a handle on a blood test that will allow you to measure alpha-synuclein. If I could do blood tests like we're doing in amyloid on tau, alpha-synuclein, and small vessel disease, I go from 30 to 40% of all dementias being measured to 90% of all dementias being measured with some level of specificity. And to answer your first question now, that's what BioHermes is trying to do. We're trying to detect all these different pathologies in terms of what mechanisms currently exist to measure these pathologies and see if we can do that precisely in clinical trials, or what do we need to do that?
Okay, okay. And that's important because when people hear Alzheimer's, I think they think of, tau, amyloid plaques, but what you're trying to do is broader than that. It's basically what is causing the underlying dementia, and you're trying to like what are the different biomarkers, and um, we don't necessarily know the pathologies, but it could still be labeled as Alzheimer's, I suppose. But there might be something else going on too.
FTD, DLB, small vessel vascular disease. Look, like I said, we're learning a lot more. I'm actually hopeful that, when you can articulate a problem, you can attack the problem.
Yeah.
There's a guy in Copenhagen, and I'm going to blank on his name, who
Okay.
said he would not be surprised, serious researcher, not somebody like me, that 75% of all dementia cases are multi-pathology.
Mhm.
More than one thing is at work. Oh,
Right.
we forgot neuroinflammation.
Right.
Inflammation causes diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's, and a lot of bad things come out of inflammation in the body. If we can knock that down, it rises all boats. So
Right.
more we can do on blood testing to be more precise on inflammation, the better off we will be. So BioHermes 2 is a very broad platform designed to collect as much data as we can to see if we can get signals on any and all of these. We're going to give this, and then we go after new blood tests to prove that we got better at measuring for these pathologies. And then we're going to apply them to clinical trials with enormous rigor to precisely characterize people so that they are in the trial that they can benefit from and prove the drug works.
Precision clinical trials. Got to make that go mainstream. Um, Now, you also talked about digital biomarkers. Uh,
Right.
so tell our listeners about that. Like, what do you mean by a digital biomarker?
I will. It covers everything that doesn't recover blood, really. So,
Okay.
uh, however, I'm going to give you three quick buckets.
Okay.
So I have a couple friends, Cumulus out of Great Britain and BrainScope here in the Washington, D.C. area, and they're doing some remarkable things with EEG. Now, there's people in neurology say that's been here forever. It's, why would that suddenly be such a great thing? Well, there's this thing called AI. I suspect you've heard of it. And when you create a giant mound of data with well-characterized EEG and then put data like we're collecting in BioHermes and say, here's a bunch of really rigorously collected patient experience across all these markers, put an EEG on them, and does that allow us to make certain insightful conclusions about do they have disease or are they likely to progress to disease because of the way their brain pattern's working? Because if you
Right.
think about it, if you got plaque or tau or a small vessel disease up in your brain waves should change compared to a healthy person.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that digital technology. It's got work to do to mature, but there are many that sort of say, for your audience, I was hand waving. So what? It's not so what anymore when you have things and tools and software that you never had before. Okay.
Right. Right.
Second digital one, shout out to my colleagues, Redispec up there in Canada. They have a mechanism of measuring amyloid through the retinal nerve. They can do an eye exam like you go to your own doctor, your ophthalmologist. And as part of that process, they can put on the lens, look down at your retinal nerve, and see if there's an accumulation of plaque highly associated with the amyloid that we worry about in Alzheimer's disease. And that stuff is being tested hard in our both our studies, and it's getting more and more accurate. It would be a non-invasive, ubiquitously deployable kind of product that could be a frontline way to give patients an insight into their condition.
Wow.
Now, the third one is cognitive testing.
Okay.
I'm sure you haven't, but maybe you have had a cognitive test. We all know the president's done very well on his. And so, different people are offered cognitive tests in their annual visit, for example, the
Right.
MMSE or the MOCA. These are paper and pencil tests. Uh, and they are been used for many, many years. We understand where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, but they are what they are. And with a digital test, there are many more things you can do and measure with just by virtue of the sensitivity and algorithms you can embed inside a computer-driven experience. Uh, Also, you're going to get more of a better read on what your cognitive condition is, I believe, as we get smarter about using these instruments. And you don't need as much skilled labor to put these tests in front of patients. Back to precision clinical trials, if I can do 5 times more clinical exams because I can use trained healthcare professionals, not trained raters, which is a very different skill set. I'm going to be able to do a lot more quality exams in a shorter period of time, speeding up trials. And candidly, I believe we're going to get better cognitive insight. You can also theoretically, there's something called the clock test. Have you ever heard of that one?
I think so. Yeah.
So it's simple. That part's simple.
Don't
You
give me the
got,
test because I'll be embarrassed if I bomb it on the
no,
podcast.
you're not going to podcast the failure. I'll tell the whole audience all they want you to do, but it's not trivial if you're me, because I have the drawing skills of a rock, is to draw a clock, put the numbers on it, and then they will ask you, show me on the clock where the hands need to be for being 10 minutes to 11 o'clock in the morning or night. Two
Okay.
hands, put one on the 10, the long one on the 10, the short one on the 11.
Okay.
Now, we do that manually on paper. Uh, and some people are really challenged as they get more cognitively impaired. Healthy people slam it out with good rigor.
Mm.
But if you are just slightly impaired and you're trying to do it, the electronic stuff can measure pauses and areas you're emphasizing, where you got a little lost, how long it took you to do it. That's why when I do mine, I'm busy banging that thing as fast as I can in case anybody's ever going to measure me. I want to be facile with it. But these measurements, and there's all kinds of ways to do this with software, give you the ability to see the subtle neuromotor changes that are being driven by your cognitive control that may demonstrate early signs of disease. I'm not telling you they're there yet. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of promise, but and they come in all shapes, and sizes. There's card memories, there's lists, there are clock drawings, but the overall effort is, can I measure executive function, your short-term memory, your general reporting of your daily living. I could go on, but frankly, I'm out of my depth to do that. And are we able to do it better than we can do it on instruments that we were using 40 years ago?
Wow.
And I would argue, with all due respect, yes, we probably can do better than what we did 40 years ago.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm a big fan of the digital stuff. It is tracking, but not quite as fast as the blood tests are because medicine understands the blood
Hmm.
test better.
Yeah.
Patients are accustomed to giving and taking blood tests. I want to come back to one last thing:
Okay.
scalability and access. With blood tests and DCAs, but let's just stick with blood tests. There are technologies that allow us to put these blood tests in the most far corners of the United States and the world more broadly. People who could not get examined and get a clear handle on their condition now can because of the blood tests. And it's only going to get better because there's a blood spot technology coming forward where you just prick your finger and then you put the blood into little holes in cardboard and they take the blood, dried blood, and run the blood test. But you don't even need a freezer. You don't need to spin down blood. Imagine you're in a sub-Saharan environment
Hmm.
trying to treat patients. This technology will allow you to give the benefit that we can currently give in the United States with blood tests that require spin down and a cold freezer to store them around the world. That work is still underway. We're doing it in Biohermes too, but blood tests mean 90%, 80% of everybody in the United States can be treated promptly and get a good diagnosis. We're not waiting for PET, and we're not waiting for CSF. And pretty soon, 90 to 80% of the world can get a better appreciation of their cognitive condition using these same technologies with the promulgation of these blood spot technologies. And now we're going to know more vividly what the differences are based on race, what the differences are based on ethnicity, and in gender and in gender.
So let's talk about that because one thing that stood out on your website is the emphasis on including people from different racial, gender, ethnic backgrounds. So tell our listeners, why does diversity matter so much in biomarker research?
Because we want to create a precise set of folks and studies so that when drugs are tested, we can say hand on heart, which is not a scientific term, hand on heart that they work for everybody.
Yeah,
Most Alzheimer's trials until very recently were you and me. They
right,
like us. Uh,
right,
And yet, the incidence of dementia in the African American community is 2 times higher than in the Caucasian community. The Latino community, it's 1.5 times higher. What the hell's going on?
right.
So when we do the blood tests, the interesting thing is we're finding out that and this is we published on this along with a lot of colleagues a couple years ago. Actually, the African American community has lower levels on average of elevated amyloid than the white community, even though they have dementia 2 times higher.
Interesting.
Back to that multi-pathology problem. Maybe
Right,
they have more hypertension. Maybe they're
right,
less resilient to amyloid and they get symptoms faster with less amyloid. We don't know. But at least now we know the difference. Same with
right.
the Latino community. We're very proud of our effort. In Biohermes 1, we were 24% non-white. Biohermes 2, we're right at 29%. At 29%,
That's
we're right
great.
up there. There are very few studies that are beating us at 29%.
Yeah, I know how hard it is. That's great,
And we're,
honestly.
ha- and we're
Um,
happy to be beaten. Come and get us.
Yeah.
Because the
Um,
more we do this, the more we're giving access to the communities that are under medically served, the
yeah,
communities that are sicker
yeah,
and more likely to get dementia earlier.
yeah, up 100%. Um, you also have a lot of partners on your page, and with partnering with your organization, Siemens Healthineers. I just read your press release on that. So what are they adding? Talk to us a little bit about your partnerships because you have a lot.
We do have a lot. So it tells you, your listener should know if you look at our Biohermes 2 page, it looks like a NASCAR. We got more stickers on there than NASCARs have on their automobiles, their race cars. And we're proud of that. We range from Lilly to little startups like ViewMind. And the reason is little companies can't afford to do these kind of studies by themselves. And
Right.
big companies are very eager to get data that gives them more precise insights into how to organize their studies. And so you asked me about our newest partner, Siemens. I want our Siemens partners to know we're thrilled to have them. So Siemens is generally known as one of the three biggest makers of what we call in healthcare the big iron guys. They make PET machines, they make X-ray machines, they make CT machines, they make MRI machines. What Siemens also does is it's one of the leading manufacturers of blood tests. And what they're
Okay.
trying to do, to their credit, is two things. They're trying to match their second to none install base and understanding of imaging with emerging blood tests and create a continuum of care so that what blood tests can't do, imaging can fulfill. Or when imaging is at its peak, they inform how to make better blood tests. They offer a kind of closed loop of development, which I find very exciting.
Yeah.
The other thing that Siemens does, just to finish my uncompensated for ad for them,
Yeah.
is what they're trying to do, which is really important. There are many, many places in this country that I can't get an MRI that will be of sufficient power and sensitivity to find out whether I have small vessel vascular disease, even if we know how to look for it, because
Mm,
they're too old. They're what we call a 1.5 Tesla camera, which is not a bad machine, has very important clinical benefit, but it can't do this.
I got you. Okay.
They want to do software updates to those machines rather than new cameras that will allow it to behave like a 3 Tesla, twice as powerful, just to be generalizing. And with software updates, we would greatly change the install base of this country and the rest of the world to give better diagnostic foundation to the communities they serve. And then you put blood tests next to it, and you've added a whole armamentarium of choices for docs to do a better job.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to ask you some philosophical questions now. Just because you're dealing with a topic that comes with a lot of emotional weight. And kind of, when you think about the patient experience, the caregiver experience. Um, so, first question, how do you balance excitement around biomarkers with the reality that people want clear answers about what these tests actually mean for their future?
Well, we can't give. So I am excited, I admit it. But on the other hand, I have a profound family history. I have a
Yeah.
huge set of family members that have either been stricken or died from this disease or that are enormous risk. Uh, I'm turning 70 this year. My dad was symptomatic at 70. So I'm not fooling around. I completely understand the environment we're all in. I weigh it this way. Everybody has to make their own informed decision about what they want to know and when they want to know it.
Mm,
Their doctor needs to know what they can offer. The docs have to get smarter. Patients need to be informed about what the access to technology looks like. Insurance needs to cover it. And then if Patients don't want to take the next step. That's their inalienable right, and that's family's right. I think the other side of that, though, is uh, there are things that you can do. Get good, and I mean this one as a no-brainer, no pun intended. Get more sleep. I used to be one of those macho guys that said, I only need 5 hours. I'm a beast. I'm as good on five as I am on 10. No,
Sleep's a
not anymore.
crutch. Yeah.
Uh, I am I'm 8 hours every night. If I don't get eight, I'm beating myself up. I exercise more. I look great. You don't need to tell me. And more importantly, I'm not dieting like crazy. And
Yeah.
by God, I'm Irish Catholic, and alcohol will never come out of my life. But I do
Me too,
less.
by the way. Irish Catholic.
But I am not going to drink as much Jameson's as I used to, and I'm not going
Right.
to drink it as often.
Right. Right.
Don't smoke. Do not
Yes.
smoke.
Yes.
Smoking is so stupid. If you didn't need another reason, smoking will affirmatively accelerate the development of a lot of diseases, including neurological disease. That's not even
Right.
a debate. It's just a question of how much, how susceptible you are, whether cancer gets you or Alzheimer's. But smoke, you're just helping in all respects. So you get a test result if you're showing, you can only get a test on label if you already have signs and symptoms.
Right. Okay. Um, but let's say we eventually become so good at detecting Alzheimer's biologically years before symptoms appear. Do you think we are emotionally and ethically prepared for what that means? Because that can be
Nope.
scary.
How about a simple answer from a loquacious guy? No, we are not.
Mm,
I think I love and am grateful to all my friends in neurology. Neurology is not oncology. The field needs to put on their big person pants and get better at doing their job.
mm.
Uh, Jeff Burns, did I talk to you about him last time?
I don't remember, to be honest.
It's okay. Go look at the paper on Alzheimer's and dementia that just came out last week. He completely re-engineered how KU delivers uh, Alzheimer's workups and how they deliver Alzheimer's information and dementia information. He shortened the time from first encounter to getting to a neurologist from 9 months to about three. He's using blood tests and social workers and nutrition and Kansas City Chiefs tickets. I don't know what the hell else he's doing. But the guy has taken a huge holistic, nutrition, and
Yes.
he's taken a whole holistic approach. He and his center. Uh, there are others that are as good, but it's a shining example of where neurology stood up and said, "We know we can't make this a single rifle shot solution. We've got to treat the whole condition, and we got to give caregivers or worried spouses and family members a context in which to operate."
Right.
I think so. I told you we aren't ready. I
Yeah.
think we are more ready. I think we're going to get a lot more ready. The more there are blood tests that patients can demand, it forces the system to be more sophisticated.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, and also, I just want to say, because I did go on your website and looked around just to prepare for this interview, but you do also have a great section on things you can do to lower your risk of Alzheimer's. I like one thing that I read just because it stood out to me. I'm left-handed, and they're saying like write more with your non-dominant hand, and I was like, oh, I can barely. I'm so right brain dominated, so I was like, I'm gonna start doing that, like do more with my right hand, I guess.
You
But just
play pickleball?
I yes, I play pickleball. Well, yeah, I'm competitive. I like to play. Um,
I am. I've been told by my son, who's excellent at it, I'm barely above the laugh standard, but I love pickleball. But what I'm trying to do, to your point, is profoundly right-handed. Trying to go
your left.
with my left for two reasons. One, the good players go to my backhand. Well, if I
Yes.
can go and get by what's the word? Uh, use my left more, and I am. I first of all give a lot more extension to my coverage, and second, I'm back forehand to forehand rather than backhand. It messes them up. And I actually did it a couple games with my son, who's got the wingspan of a condor, so it's very hard to beat him. But I freaked him out when I started going ambidextrous was the term I was waiting for. Uh,
Strategy.
but
Well,
it's also good for your brain.
yeah. No, that's a great point. I'll try. I'll try pickleball with my right hand. I don't know how that'll turn out, but I'll give it a shot.
Give
Um,
it a shot. And
yeah.
one more tip. Go for the first shot with your offhand. Go up. Hit up to try to get over their head. They'll be freaked out to see you went ambidextrous, and then you can drop a drop shot behind them, which is a lot easier shot than trying to place it with your ambidextrous hand.
You're pretty serious about pickleball. I see that.
I don't like
Um,
to lose.
yeah, right. Neither do I. Maybe I'll have to. I think I have to up my game though if I ever play you or your son. That's clear. Um, so one thing that strikes me about Alzheimer's is that people fear losing themselves almost as much as they fear dying. And I just wanted to ask you, does that emotional reality shape the way you think about the work you're doing?
Yes, but the way I can give back is to have my organization stand for uh, one of the best places. We believe we are the best place to conduct studies for psychosis,
Mm.
for paranoia studies, for the symptoms as well as the therapies. There are a lot of good people working on this. I I know the journey. My friend, colleague of many, many years, Meryl Comer, has written books on the caregiver journey.
Mm.
Uh, I would endorse everything she has to say about it. Uh, it is it is the Dante's seventh level of hell, and there's no coming away from it. If we can do anything to extend life, quality of life, slow down progression, both the patient and the family, especially that key caregiver, is getting years of their life back.
Right.
And so, what asked me, what am I doing and what am I committed to? I'm committed to more time.
Mm.
Give everybody more time in good health, and then don't take it for granted.
Right. Amen to that. Don't take your health for granted. Um, but this was great, John. Thank you so much for coming on. It's good to see you. For our listeners, I will share the link to their website, GAP's website, in the show notes. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and also check out the TrialSite News website, where we'll also feature an article on your organization and maybe your pickleball skills. I don't know.
Don't do that. You guys have always been very supportive. The trial, just so you get it, make sure you put it in your notes. The
Okay.
trial is wrapping up. We're very proud of that. I'd say enrollment is down to just one cohort, which we characterize as mild AD. But if you have a family member that is in fact showing real signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, we're still enrolling some of those folks. Happy to help if we can, but we'll be doing another study. I don't know what it looks like yet, but we're not stopping. We're going to take a breath to figure out what we found out, and then we'll move forward with the third
Okay.
beating
So
three.
if they're interested in enrollment, that's all on your website too.
It should all be on our website.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I hope
Great
you
to
enjoy.
see you again.